Hello? It's been such a long time in this shed. Hello? Not really. Hello. Basically, there's no way the press team will let that be the start of it, so I'm going to do a clean opening. Isn't that right, Christmas Plastic? yes, Shane. Do a clean opening. Okay, get rid of that. Hello, I'm Shane Allen, the Director of Comedy at BBC. Just want to welcome you to the second series of King Gary, our return to Butterchurn Crescent. My flies are done, so hang on, okay, clean opening again. Sorry. Hello, I'm Shane Allen, the Director of Comedy for BBC Commissioning, I think. Just to welcome you to the second series of King Gary, our return to Butterchurn Crescent, for the Q&A with the cast and crew. They've done a brilliant job. It's been a time of COVID. Filming, as we know, is so much more rigorous and difficult and challenging. But to have a brilliant, broad BBC One family comedy coming at the end of the month, it's a fantastic achievement to the team. As you'll see, they're a very tight-knit bunch. It's made with love. They're like a family themselves. It's been wonderful. So just very quickly, I want to do some thank yous to James Defrond, the director and co-writer. To King Gary himself, to Big Tom, who's very much the Oliver Hardy, to James's Stan Laurel, to the rest of the cast that you'll see, to Ramesh Ranganathan, to Camille Kajuri, and to Laura Checkley, wonderful Terry. Apologies from Simon Day, who can't join. Thank you to Richard Webb as the producer. Thank you to Ben Cordell, my colleague in commissioning. And so Boyd Hilton's going to host Q&A with the cast and James for about 40 minutes, and there'll be some clips and whatnot, and I hope you like it. And we're doing, BBC One, we've got Ghost, Alan Partridge, Not Going Out, Mrs. Brown. Things are looking buoyant and really good, because it's the hardest thing to get right, is a big, broad comedy. So thank you very much. Good luck.
Thanks, Shane. And hello and welcome to this very special preview Q&A for King Gary Series 2, coming very soon to BBC One. Let's welcome our fantastic panel. We have co-creator, co-writer and director of the series, James Defrond. Hello, James.
Hello. We
have the legendary comedian, presenter, actor who plays Stuart, and of course, co-host of the Wolf and Owl podcast, Mr. Ramesh Ranganathan.
Hello, hi.
We have the legendary actress who plays Denise King, among many other glorious roles, Camille Kajuri. Hi, Camille.
Oh, hello. Definitely not a legend, though.
You are. And we have the astonishingly talented Miss Terry King, aka Laura Checkley. Hi, Laura.
Hello.
And of course, co-creator, co-writer, star and legend, and the other half of the Wolf and Owl podcast, Big Tom Davis. Hi, Tom.
Yeah, how you doing? You good? Yeah.
Good to see you all.
Good to see you, Lloyd.
Now, I guess the big theme of this second series, the big kind of underlying arc, is the build-up to the wedding. James, when you sat down with Tom to thrash out the writing of Series 2, did you know from the start how you were going to have that as an underlying element all the way through, and then have different subplots along the way? Was that your plan from the start, or how did you hatch that? How did you hatch that scheme?
We did. The original idea was a foreign wedding, actually, in Spain, and all of our observations were weddings abroad, which there's lots of fun to be had. But because of COVID, we had to last minute rewrite it to make it a UK wedding. So that changed the final 2 episodes. We had to completely rewrite episodes 5 and 6 last minute, because obviously we couldn't travel abroad. But yes, that changed slightly. But yeah, it was always going to be the sort of B plot, if you like, the sort of trials and tribulations of the planning of that, as a sort of through line, as a story engine, which works really well. And sort of seeing the stresses of that, and seeing Gary and Terry fall out, which was fun to do, to sort of slightly break the heart of the show, if you like, but also is a sort of universally relatable thing when you're planning a wedding. But yeah, that was always a through line. It was tweaked due to the global pandemic, but weirdly, I think the sort of rewrite and making it a sort of a UK wedding actually strengthened it. It sort of made us concentrate more on the sort of characters, relationships, as you know, the story and the conflicts of it all. So yeah, but yeah, it worked really well.
And how do you and Tom work? Do you literally sit in a room together, or over Zoom maybe during lockdown and thrash out ideas out together and together write out? Who's literally typing out the script, or does one of you handle one episode and handle one? How does it work?
Well, Zoom's different, obviously, because normally we're in a room together. But yeah, we thrash out together the beats, the story arc for the series, and the beats for each episode, and then we normally divvy up a part. So you know, Tom will do part 1, I'll do part 2, and then we combine it, and then we work through that first draft together. We're not that precious about getting it down. We always think, you know, get it down. No one else is going to see it apart from me and Tom. And then once we can see it, that's when the sort of magic happens, if you like, and we sort of work through it together. So yeah, I mean, the Zoom process has been fine, to be honest. It's worked for us. There's other things we're writing with more people, and it's trickier, but because it's me and Tom, and I have this big silly face on my screen, and it and it's like he's in the room anyway, so it's all good.
And Tom, is it easier in a way to write the second series because having known the characters, this ensemble cast, and how the cast perform their characters, was it easier to write those characters second time?
Yeah, I think with all the characters, I think we could. The big thing was to be a little bit braver with them and push them, and also, I think just in general, I think just across this series, the big thing that we sort of really wanted to do is just be that little bit more ambitious with what we've done in the first series. I think you can always, I think we obviously the sort of feedback and the response to that first season has been like incredible, but you know, me and James are always very sort of analytical. We look at this ourselves and we go, right, we could have done this better, that better. And I think it was always, let's try and push these scripts, but also push the people in it as much. I think like I think there's maybe more, that little bit more drama. There's those more dramatic moments. I think with Camille, you can give Camille anything. I think Laura, I think we know how funny Laura is. Laura's so brilliant, but I think actually the moments, I think in the Christmas special, those moments of heart, that really sort of like you see another side of her. You can give Laura anything, cleaning a house, and she's going to give you something that's going to make everyone in the room laugh. She's just incredible.
That's quite a disrespectful job you gave her, actually.
And obviously, then we fell on our face because we tried to give Romesh something that's a bit more dramatic. I mean, to be fair, Romesh does Looking Forlorn and Sad better than anyone I've ever met. There was a couple of episodes where we had Stuart becoming a party clown, but that wasn't in his locker. But with Romesh, all joking aside, I think, episode 3, I think it's just incredible. I remember standing in the woods when we were doing that scene in episode 3. And, obviously, I love the guy to bits, but just he blew me away in that scene. It was really, I think literally, I'll go as far as say the whole crew was blown away by Romesh that evening. And I think that's, then you've got people like, John the Butcher, who sort of comes in and it's just like seeing an old friend. And we just wanted to, I think we knew the characters and we wanted to grow them and we wanted them to make them feel that bit bigger, I suppose.
Yeah, when you mentioned that scene, in the camping episode, Ron, was that is a scene where you are getting emotional and you're kind of breaking down a bit, really. Was that one of the hardest acting scenes you've ever done?
Yeah, I mean, that is both a testament to that scene and also a damning indictment of my acting career, because I haven't really done that much. But the truth of it is like when I looked across the series, I mean, having done the first series, and I genuinely, I've said this to Tom and James a lot, I think they have assembled an exceptional cast, myself except I think they've assembled an exceptional cast in this show. And when we did series 1, I actually learned a lot from watching these guys work. And I think that, it was actually, I think that they're phenomenally talented at what they do. And so much so that actually in between series, I went and took acting lessons because
did.
I did. I promise I did.
Wow.
I really did, because I sort of looked at series 2 and I sort of saw how these guys had done in series 1. And I thought I really wanted to, I wanted to give myself the best possible chance of sort of keeping up with that kind of level. Do you know what I mean? And so I went away and really worked on it. And yeah, in answer to your question, that scene I found, you know, I knew going into that I was going to find it really difficult, but you know, James and Tom, and in fact the whole of the cast, they create an atmosphere on set when you're shooting that you are able to feel completely comfortable in trying to do those things. And you know, you push it because you are in an environment where you feel completely comfortable to do that, whether that's emotionally or comedically. So it was challenging, but it could have been a lot more challenging if it wasn't that kind of environment. You know, I felt like I was put in a position where I was given the best possible chance of kind of it. And I don't mean it just for that scene. I mean, in every single scene that I've been involved in Gary, they give you the best possible platform to kind of to work to the best level you can. And so, yeah, I absolutely loved doing that scene. I'll be honest with you, I had no idea if it was good or not. And, you know, you sort of, you come out of those things and people go, that was good. And you think, yeah, I've heard that so many times. You know, I've heard that, boy, I'll be honest with you, I've heard that on loads of shows, and I've come away and I've watched it and I thought I was absolute shit in that. But, you know, people are just being polite. You know, so you don't really know.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the challenge.
I was absolutely in tears in that scene. So it was very powerful. Just to mention the acting lessons, what was your main takeaway then from the acting lessons?
Well, I think it's you know, one of the things. One of the takeaways was it's a lot harder than I'd initially anticipated. That was one of the takeaways. But I think it was just like what I learned between series 1 and series 2 from doing those lessons is it just made my preparation a lot better. You know, because like, you know, going into the first series, I think like being a stand-up and doing panel shows and all those kind of things and doing the type of work that I normally do, it gives you timing and, you know, you can find the comedy and things like that. But what I sort of learned to do a bit more, and by the way, I'm not suggesting for a second I've come anywhere near sort of achieving it, is going into those scenes with a better appreciation of what Stuart is going for as he knocks on Gary's door, as he walks into the wedding, you know, all of these things, having that sort of working in your mind as you approach everything, it adds something else. And that's something that these guys do just so naturally, but I've had to like to really work at trying to get that in my locker, if you like, you know.
Interesting. Before we talk to Laura and Camille, we've got a clip. We've got a few clips to run during the discussion. This clip, first of all, is known officially as Terry is on one. And it does involve a little tete-a-tete between Terry and Denise. So let's have a look at this clip.
Right, Rob, what you got for me, mate?
I present to you, sire, the King Family Tree package. In this ring binder folder stores the legacies of your ancestors, and my word, it's a hell of a...
Oh, I'm seething. I'm on one, people.
You gotta chub that door, then.
You out of Frosties again? What? No. Actually, glad you're both here. Angela, the cleaner, has been thieving, having it right off. Stole a score out of our money jar.
She is a diamond. What evidence have you got?
Loads, actually.
Like what?
Like all of the things, actually. For E.G., those new Ugg boots she's been wearing, I mean, they couldn't have been cheap. And she keeps rattling on about that new inflatable hot tub of hers. I mean, all that on a cleaner's wage. I mean, drop me out.
Shock, horror, outrage. Don't get distracted, Rob. Let's focus on this, yeah?
You have got to do in the whole Crescent Tale. You said Chloe recommended her.
She did. She said she was amazing. Here. Do you think she's in on it? Like some sort of Fagin character sending out a crew of motley old birds just thieving for her.
Terry, you need to be sure about this.
Oh, I am as sure as eggs, mate. But I need more evidence, all right? I need you to get back to your gaff and do a deep sweep. And if there is so much as a hairpin missing, I want to know about it. You don't worry, Annie, darling. By the time I'm finished with that silly old salt, the only thing she'll be cleaning out is her own prison carsey. Tutty bye.
So, Laura, one of my favourite things about the series, too, I have to say, are the confrontations between you and Camille. They are, including this scene, they are brilliantly funny and entertaining. But also, I think, slightly developed from the series 1, slightly harsher. I feel like you're really going at it, you two, sometimes. Did it feel that way to you?
Yeah, I guess so. Do you know what? We're such good friends, me and Camille. We've been friends for many, many, many years. I think 10 years now, Cammy, I think.
At least.
So yeah, it's not hard being horrible to her, really. Yeah, Yeah, I think so. I think Terry's got a bit of an edge to her this series, because I think everything's important to her, and I think she's never felt really appreciated by Denise. I think it's that typical, mother-in-law and wife to be confrontation. I think it's natural, and I think and Terry's not to be messed with, and I think Denise just sticks her nose in that bit too far, and so they have a bit of a face-off. And it's serious business for Terry, this wedding, so she has to put her in her place. She has to put Denise in her place a little bit. What do you think, Camille?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's my job as a mother-in-law to actually get involved, isn't it? Yeah. And I would definitely give you a run for the money. I think I could be completely wrong, but I do see a bit of Denise in Terry. Totally.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's why they clash, for sure.
And in the olden days when she used to love everything, perhaps, and instead of love-hate, Denise does the love-hate thing. She loves Terry, but then she can't stand her when she lets her down. So I think you're bound to have these face-offs, aren't you, with those two characters?
And we all marry our mothers. That's what they say, isn't it?
Right. They do.
I think Gary needs a strong woman in his life. I think that's the truth of it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. There's another scene, and I think it's in episode 2, where the two of you have a one-on-one in like the restaurant. You're both drinking white wine, which was like De Niro and Pacino in Heat, in the film Heat.
It was definitely channeling a bit of Goodfellas, or like we were proper channeling that. I was sort of Carmela Soprano. I was giving it, it was so much fun. It was so much fun. And went to what Romesh said about being on set and being able to really push the comedy. We're allowed to do that, and James lets us play around, and having that freedom, you often find just a brilliant level that you probably wouldn't have pushed it to had you been on another set.
Yeah, you boys really love women. You know how to write for women. It's just a joy, and it's all there. It's all in the writing to explore and to,
Yeah, and what's great about that scene is you really see a couple of fellas usually do a scene like that, so it's great to see women do that. And as we always say, us working class folk that know the women in our lives are super strong, and they run the household, they run it, that's it. So yeah, it was a joy to do that thing.
I think one of my favourite bits of it was such a small thing that there's a bit just before the camping, and when me and Romesh were messing around, but we've done this scene, the scene that leads into that, where Terry finds out about the cleaner, and she's basically going, and me and Laura in that scene were basically just messing around together, and it was a bit of improv. But then just when me and Ron were doing that scene by the door, that Gary asked Terry if he could go camping, is my favourite thing of it's such a signal of I've had it. I had it when me and James went to the football. It's like, oh yeah. It's all right if I go to the football. It's like and it's sort of I just think that sort of signal of it shows that sort of who's the boss in that house, no matter what, that he has to sort of like run it past her.
Yeah, I feel like Terry and Denise are both in charge, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Situations.
Yeah. Sure.
One of the things I loved about all the way through, Laura, is your slapstick moments. Do you, Tom and James, do you have to kind of limit them a bit? Because you could just have every episode with brilliant Laura slapstick pratfalls, and it would be amazing, isn't it? But I know you limit them a bit, I feel like, in this series.
Yeah, Laura's so fantastic at physical comedy, and I don't think that you see enough of it. I don't think you see enough of women being goofy. I feel like blokes get all those opportunities. You see it more in America, I feel like, in films and the TV comedies there. But she's so brilliant at it. But yeah, you choose when to do it, and she's always amazing.
There's a lot of, in the script, there's a lot of she pulls a face. Terry does. I know what's coming. I know what's coming.
I think that's the genius of Laura, is that I think you can give her nearly anything and she'll make it fun. It's such a joy, and I think that Terry, as we've said before, this part was always Laura. It was always from the very start. It was always myself, James, and Laura was there, and we've grown. Romesh and the cast, but Laura has just got that ability just to. It genuinely is, I think, genius that you can stick her in any situation, and what the outcome is, and James would text or whatever, and if you're not on set, you sort of feel a bit gutty because you're getting changed, and Laura's got a bit of a physical thing, and in series 1, the jump in the pool,
you're gonna get
I remember everyone going, right, you've got to go and get changed for the next scene, and I'm like, well, Laura's about to fucking dive bomb into a pool, and I want to see that. You know what I mean? Because you sort of, and that's a real thing to treasure, But like I say, I think that there's an edge to, as you said, to Terry this series that I think it would be easy just to see someone who could just do the clowning and the pratfalls and that stuff. That when Laura turns out that emotion, and in episode 6 with her mum and stuff like that, there's someone who's not just a wonderful clown, but someone who's an incredible actress as well. And I think that's that's the thing I think that I'm proudest of almost this series, is seeing that side.
Getting a balance, isn't it? It's getting a balance. But also, like, some of it's scripted and some of it isn't. So, for example, spotting Denise coming into the gym is a scripted piece of physical comedy where, you're going to spot Denise and hide behind this and trip over that and run away, and that's a carefully orchestrated thing. But the cleaning montage was, the reality of that is you got 10 minutes, right? There's going to be a camera here, and I'm going to get you to do this with some cushions, and all of that is
actually just actual footage because that's how it clean.
The sad thing is, because of COVID, Laura had to clean all the sets after we'd finished in them, so that was actually just the camera left there.
Fair enough. Multitasking.
Also, you can't do the funny unless you can do the serious.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. So you can't. And I think women are hilarious. They can be hilarious, and I think James and Tom have allowed that to be shown, because that doesn't happen very often.
No, not enough.
In across the board in comedy, really. Over here, anyways, you say in America that's allowed. So I mean, God knows why you got acting lessons, Ron, when you're you're gonna do it because you do the funny so brilliantly. You can't do one without the other.
I agree. I think a lot of people think that if you do comedy you can't do the other stuff, and actually I think the other stuff is what we do every day. We connect, we cry. It's just channeling that, and just because you pull a face and you can fall over convincingly doesn't mean you can't also tug on a heartstring and tell the truth. Everything's got to be based on truth. It can be as big as you like, but
not everyone can fall over and make that funny. Not everyone can do pratfalls and do plumping up cushions and make that hilarious, and listening to the disco beat on the walls of where. I mean, that's hilarious.
That's amazing.
Not everyone can do that.
Yeah. That's an amazing scene in the wedding episode. Where you try to find where the all night.
Where the afterthought,
that is so funny. Yeah.
That's just
so excellent.
So again, it's just so brilliantly written. This series, I mean, last series was amazing, but this series is just another level. And I've messaged James and Tom so many times in tears, just so proud. I'm proud of them as a friend, because it's like this, just another level. This series, I'm really excited for the people that love this show and get it. I'm really excited for those people to see it, the fans. I'm really excited.
There's a bit in. Talking about whether stuff is scripted or improvised, there's a bit in the scene where you're all having lunch together, and Tom has his big plate of food, and you lick your knife 3 times. You lick it either side and then the tip, and it's so funny. I cracked up so much.
Well, I did it, and then James went, "I love that. Do it again. Do it again." Because I did it.
It's like so
that's such a no-no as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
licking your knife.
Hear my mum, do not lick your knife. I could hear her, and just the fact that you so fab.
Me and Laura gave ourselves serious gut rot from we hadn't had a Toby Carvery because of lockdown for so long. So when we sat down to have that thing, James was like, "Go careful on what you eat," and me and Laura both were like kids that
I ate like the chipolata sausages.
Yeah, I ate so much in the first shot that James would, "You're going to have to do that in every take now." So for about 4 days afterwards, I had serious.
Yeah,
we were messaging each other.
The good thing was though, Tom didn't talk about it at all the next day. None of us knew that had happened.
We've got another clip now of we've talked about the camping episode a bit, but this clip sets the scene, and it's the arrival at the camp. Let's have a look.
Hey, Marcus. Hey, Howie. Bit too old for scouts, though, mate.
What are you talking about? I'm just helping out. I'm teaching these kids some survival skills.
Survival skills, eh? You should probably know that a couple of years ago, I met Bear Grylls at the SO Garage, king of the scouts. Spent 60 seconds with the geezer, but he imparted like a lifetime of wisdom upon my brain.
All right. Just so you know, yeah? I was in the Paris for 6 years. This ain't a game to me.
I didn't actually know that.
What's with this vest?
Tactical war vest from Call of Duty, official merchandise store, COD.
There's nothing in them flaps.
Yeah, it's because you don't have stuff in the flaps until you're out on the trail, mate. Get like mud samples and leaves and...
You're a mug.
What?
One of the things that struck me at watching this series, the scenes between the two of you, Tom and Romesh, that I feel like they have a kind of almost, meta connection to the way you actually interact in real life as friends. Like, the passive aggression, sometimes the out-and-out aggression, the piss-taking. I feel it's all there, written into these characters somehow. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think the truth of the matter,
The truth of the matter is, as you often say.
Yeah, on the Wolf and Owl podcast, and we actually get slagged off for that. Good pickup, Boyd. Good pickup. The truth is, from when I've known Romesh a long time, and again, it was that thing of we did Judge Romesh together, and there was a real chemistry, and from there, we wrote the part of Stuart. It was always sort of Romesh's thing. Again, it was always that to try and sort of build that sort of natural chemistry, which you have with everyone. But I think this series, I thought it was always something quite nice about. Gary's a bit of a knobhead if he's going to be your enemy, but he's actually unbearable if he's trying to be your friend. There's quite a lot of times where when you're hanging around on set and actually you sort of think, oh, fucking hell, I am actually Gary in Romesh's life. But yeah, the natural, and what's great again, and I think it's very easy to, but for I had to separate being a writer and everything else once someone's set. And what's the incredible thing with James is James lets those bits go, and James will constantly, there's times where I'll just do the script here, and for it, and James will know, you need to. And I think with the stuff with Romesh has always got that natural flow, and if things aren't working, we'll find. I mean, some takes, and I'm sure James will tell you, some takes go on for fucking ever. Like they could be like a 20-minute take, and it's a single on me, and James is having to go, right, okay, out of all of that, you might be able to use this tiny bit, and Romesh is then trying to remember that one thing that. But I think that natural way that we have, and I think that's bled into the show. And I think I don't have to say how much I enjoy working with Romesh. Pretty much everything I'm doing at the moment is with him, so I feel like a stone in his shoe constantly. But he's a joy, man.
I think that the camping thing's a good example, because the reality of it is. Tom and I are very, very good friends. Like, I love him to bits, but that relationship, even when we're getting on at our very, the very maximum we could be, we're still bickering, or I'm still picking him up on saying something. And I think that has come into Stuart and Gary's relationship. But the camping thing is an interesting example, because in reality, Tom and I are friends, and in the show, theoretically, Stuart and Gary are supposed to be enemies, nemesis, whatever. But Stuart wants Gary to go on that camping trip. That's the truth of it. It's like he's turned up there and he's rolling his eyes and all that, but that is a thing where he's going, I'm sort of hoping this guy comes. He doesn't say that. He sort of makes it out like he's utterly pissed off when Gary decides to come, but he does. That's somebody that sort of is on his side in a way, so and actually Stuart is sort of in such a pathetic place in this series that the little things that he gets over on Gary, the little kind of outmaneuvering, the little victories he gets, that's his only kind of source of any kind of self-esteem, and so actually Gary's this kind of weird source of kind of relief and not, I wouldn't go as far to say as happiness, but like some of his own self-value is tied up with his relationship with Gary. So I think it's like, I think there are a lot of parallels there, and I think that when I think actually doing the Wolf and Owl, as you mentioned, what it's actually done is it's helped us kind of work on because we're not when we do the podcast, we are just literally chatting shit and seeing what happens, but like it has helped us in terms of when we get to the improv bits of those scenes, you fall into this natural relationship. So I do think it's helped doing it, to be honest.
And was it on this shoot where you were given the small room in the?
Thank you so much, because
That's my favourite episode.
I didn't want to bring it up because I don't want to seem petty, but it's great on this chat to actually get this out in the open. So we went away. I don't want to give away the location, but the every member of cast who was staying there was given a lovely. They all had identical rooms. And I was given a markedly smaller room for the 2 or 3 nights that we were there, and that was kept a secret from me. And it's only when I sort of saw the other rooms that I realised that what was going on here. I don't know if it's some sort of power play or whatever. And then, you know, we've talked a lot about how fun it is to be on set. I queried Tom about it, because I knew that James is actually, you know, James is a good laugh, but he's a professional, whereas Tom is the sort of person that thinks this kind of stuff is funny. So I asked Tom about it, and he tried to pass it off as some sort of prank. But the fact of the matter is, Boyd, I stayed in a much shitter accommodation for 3 nights for reasons that are beyond me. And to this day, I haven't had a clear explanation about it. And do you know what? I'm glad, because I've come here. I don't have to come and do this thing. So I'm glad that you've actually given me the opportunity for there to be some point to this for me.
The point is, I worried.
I was a victim of a power play. So thank you, Boyd.
I worried that your ego would get too much if you had a nice big room, and it's sometimes you can let those things go to your head. It was just, and also you did come into my room and say how nice it was. Like, your room was nice until you saw my room.
Yeah, I was being polite, because I thought you were doing, because, you know, Boyd, look, the guy, obviously we do love Tom. Everyone loves Tom, but he is very much number one on the call sheet, and that is kind of hammered home to the rest of the people involved in the show at every opportunity. So when I walked into his room, I thought, okay, obviously he's got this big dick energy room. Fair play to him. Do you know what I mean? He's number one on the call sheet. That's what's going on. Little did I realise, every other member of the production had a similar size room except me. That's something I didn't realise at the time.
Yeah. The irony is, of course, is that in the wedding episodes, Gary has a small room, and he's furious about it.
That was actually Romesh's room.
Rom, if it makes you feel any better, I was put next to the lifts and I had to move because I didn't sleep a wink.
Yeah, but you moved to your suite on the top floor.
I did.
Yeah, that does make me feel loads better. Thanks, Laura.
James, I'm glad we cleared up the room thing. James, I thought it was clever that you brought in this new neighbour character, who is, let's face it, an objectionable figure. And I thought that brings together Tom and Romesh, really, their characters in a way, as against this kind of horrible new neighbour. Was that partly why you brought him in?
Yeah, we had the idea of a bad neighbour moving in as a sort of plot line, but we really wanted to work on a sort of Gary and Stuart bromance and what that would look like, and definitely that sort of new neighbour as a common enemy for them to unite against was something that we sort of orchestrated to bring them sort of closer together, which starts in that camping episode and sort of grows. And you're right, just picking up on what Romesh said, what I love about Stuart is he does sort of weirdly need Gary, and there's a lovely moment in that breakdown bit where Gary asks him if he wants to go to the wedding, and when he's genuinely touched and genuinely wants to hear that, and it's just a really nice, and then Gary, you know, treads on that and fucks it up, but as he does, but it's a nice moment. And the new bad neighbour definitely played into that, as well as bringing out some more comedy in Gary, because what was lovely about that is he's this sort of, you know, self-appointed Crescent Warden, and it comes back to bite him on the bum when this terrible person comes in and everyone's looking at him and going, well, you have to be the Crescent Warden now. The smart thing, I think, with that was making him this younger guy meant that Gary was this mix of, I sort of want to be firm with him, but I want to impress him, and he was sort of all over the shop. So it sort of brought out a nice side of Gary as well. So yeah, he was great. He was horrible, wasn't he? He's horrible.
He's in real life, he's such a sweet guy, Morgan.
Such a sweet man.
He's genuinely a really deep guy, but yeah, he was and I think everyone found him, he was just lovely to be around the place. But soon as he sort of went into character, even Simon Day, he's sort of quite terrifying and just but and also one of those people really we found. I think it was a real struggle trying to find someone who could do that role and feel authentic. I think that's, as we've said, I think we talked to you, Boyd, in series 1, was the authentic member. Everyone here feels their part. There's and it was really hard to find someone who could sort of take that on and just feel feel that someone that Gary and Stuart would sort of feel terrified of. And I think alongside everything else is that thing of Gary probably in his pomp maybe would have been a bit more of a sort of test for him. But you get old, didn't you? And you're sort of like, you get a little bit more soft and sort of like, and that moment there where he realizes actually he can't beat him in a battle of wits and he can't beat him in a battle of sort of like strength or any kind of physical action. It's quite a pathetic place to be.
Yeah. I mean, his arrival really makes it creates an unease, I think, in the show, which is really interesting. We've talked a little bit about how Gary and Terry go at it, fall out a little bit in this series, and we've got this brilliant clip coming up now, which is called Argument, and it's set in the gym where the two of you go at each other. Let's have a look.
Kay's stepping in as a new wedding planner.
No, she isn't. No way. That is not happening. No way. No way to Kay. She ain't no. She is not no.
Oh, she is though, Gary. And do not go to war with me in the middle of the day, gal.
Oh, we're at war. This is the middle of the what? Hold up. Is that why she's changed the name of the wedding WhatsApp group to Party People? I mean, Party People, this is my wedding.
Oh, it's your wedding, is it now? Well, you should have thought about that before organising the sten do the night before the wedding.
It's in keeping with the old school traditional theme what we're going for. Plus, it's cost effective, and I'm the only one who's thinking about expenditure, because you're just rinsing it, darling. Flopping out the wedge. Here it goes. Money, money, money. Terry, don't worry about it. Where's that money going? I don't care.
Whoa, what is that supposed to mean?
I'm just saying there's been a lot of events.
Has there?
You've had your bottomless garage brunch. You've had your afternoon tea at Claridge's.
So?
Now tomorrow, you've got another big lunch up west. I mean, come on!
Well, it's Kay's official first event, the change of the guard. You've got your boys one.
It's a suit fitting. It's a suit fitting. Honestly, rein your mates in.
My mates? What about your mates on that group, Gary? Have you seen the filth Martin's been putting out there? I mean, it's making me feel utterly bilious.
Mine ain't my mate. He's your mum's boyfriend.
He's part of the groom party, babe.
Because he begged to be, because he's never been to a wedding before. We knew the WhatsApp group would be a political minefield. And now Kay's in charge. What could go wrong?
Oh, do not take that tone with me, Tony.
Tony, what are you going on? That Tony, not at all, mate.
Hold on a minute, sorry, can you hear that music?
Can't hear a thing.
It's Tony Braxton.
Oh, very funny,
Yeah.
very funny.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm just worried about our wedding, so I'm sorry.
Oh, why are you worried about? Cry me another river, Tony Bennett.
Why don't you shut your face? Honestly,
Wow.
Tell, shut up, serious.
Oh, shut up now. Why being so defensive, Tony Adams?
Stop calling me different Tonys. Stop it now. I'm going to walk away, because I don't want this to evolve any more than it has to.
Oh, it's evolved, Gary. It's evolving. You just sped up the evolvulation process. So good one. Oh, go on. Yeah, go on. Oh, you're hard. Yeah, go on. Go on, I can do it all day, mate. Boom, there we go. There's another for you. You're a big baby, Gary, with your big baby balls. Yeah, wreck the joint.
I thought the interesting thing about this, I love this scene, but it does end with you, Tom, throwing these like balls in the rough direction of your wife. And I wondered if you kind of had trouble working out how far you could take that, because, it's kind of, you have to rein it in. You couldn't have it where he's been, they hit her. That would be awful.
No.
It kind of works very well, just about on the edge of being horrible.
I think the fact is with Terry as well is Terry could probably she can give us. She's no doubt
She'd lay him out.
Yeah, she'd knock Gary out, and I think that the truth of it. Number one, by the way, when you're throwing those balls at Laura is like sort of like cat reflexes. She's unbelievable the way she was darting around them.
Back to my football days.
The joy of that, I think that was up there with my favorite things I've ever filmed. It was a real fun thing to play around with. I think the actual sort of what they look like when sort of they have this sort of row that sort of lasts for an episode. It was the one thing that me and James had talked about doing was a sort of like an argument episode. Because Terry's in control of the whole thing. But I think with the balls, I think it was just sort of that was sort of more than anything. It was a bit improvised. It was sort of like a bit like what have we got here? And James James is amazing at finding a location and then just being like, right, well, why don't you fuck about with this and you can fuck about with that. And he's got loads of different things. A ladder for me. Sometimes, boy, they're terrifying, the things he's got in mind. But that was the thing. And I think it was it's a real fun scene to see what an argument looks like between these two. It was great.
They're also, I think, they're like they're best mates. So it's, she sort of invited it really. Go on, do it again. I keep doing it again. And I think I know what you're saying, Boyd, but I think the two of them are such good mates that, I went out with someone once who threw a pair of socks at me and we ended up laughing because it was so pathetic. And I think that's what it is. He chucks this gym ball, it moves so slowly that it's actually really pathetic. And I think
thumbs up, Gary, really.
The beauty of it.
Yeah, that is true. It is pathetic. Yeah. But I think it's interesting that the confrontation. There's a lot. I feel like there's more confrontation generally in this series than in series one, and I feel it almost like sometimes it gets to like almost like a Mike Leigh film or something that you forget a little bit that it's a comedy, and like particularly as Gary it gets closer and closer to the wedding, Gary's losing it, isn't he? And he has an anxiety attack and I feel it's interesting that you take him to quite an extreme level of kind of anxiousness and you really start to feel for him.
I think that's the thing that I think there's a lot of talk, and me and Romesh obviously talk a lot about it on the Wolf and Owl, and I think like anxiety and the pressures of sort of modern masculinity are a big thing. I think me and James, when we were writing this, were always very conscious of number one, trying to sort of show that in the best, because there's a real hard place that Gary finds because he wants everyone to be happy. He wants this to be the best wedding that anyone's ever been to, wants it to be like, but he wants to be in the center of everything, and you just can't, that's just never possible. And there's sort of jealousy. I think the stuff with Stuart, and Romesh in the pool there, and he's trying to sort of keep all these plates spinning and trying to make sure everyone has this amazing time that everyone would. If Gary just chilled out and just went, they're having a great time shooting and she's having a great time in a spa and I can kick back with my boy, but he can't. He wants to be in control of everything, and I think but across the whole thing, it was just I think the expectation placed upon him by his dad and the sort of Crescent Warden, the sort of, I think the big things, and at 42 you realise age is a thing. And like becoming more and more of a thing in your head, and I think like the new neighbour coming there and youth, and like this guy's got a better car, and I think there's so many layers with Gary, and then you're trying to sort of add a level that's like always like in the centre of these things, and everyone that's sort of like like Mannering or Basil Fawlty, those guys sort of like you can like pick that as a comedy sort of thing, I think. And George Costanza is one of my favourite things of that, and of someone that on the outside that is comedy and you're always trying to look for the funny, but actually like, what's going on behind that? Why is Mannering like this? Why is Fawlty just always on the precipice of something? And they're an interesting sort of sides. And I think that was a thing for Gary, was just to make sure he sort of stepped up, I think, to sort of be in the midst of these situations, and that it was a lot of fun to play.
James, did you feel that like kind of making it like having more moments of drama in the way? I mean, most of them there's always a joke not too far away, but I think there are moments where you're really feeling for the characters in this series. And was that something that you found kind of finding the right moments to earn those moments of emotion and drama and pathos? Did you find that an interesting task?
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think you do earn them. But yeah, I feel like it's finding the balance, isn't it? And I feel like, I don't know, it's a great thing about this show where you can do really big funny, but then you can pull the rug and get the emotion going, and that's down to these guys being fantastic actors as well as comics, But I think we can have a great idea of a funny comedy argument, right? And you watch that, and that's big Will Ferrell-esque size comedy argument. But then the next bit is, what happens if you remove Terry? What if Terry blanks Gary for a day? What happens to Gary? And the underlying thing is that he needs her. He's useless without her. She is absolutely, everything to him. And that's what we all learn. That's what she learns. That's what he learns. And then they're back together, and that's what we all want, because that's the heart. The heart of the show is the love that those two characters have. So it's nice to do. It's nice to do, and nice to go to real places. And And yeah, I don't know how we do it, but hopefully we do it. I feel like we can do the big stuff, but still have those moments of drama, be it, you know, Stuart, you know, in the woods, you know, the genuine emotion in the wedding, you know, there's, you know, that episode 5 is like an episode of 40 Towers, but by the time you get to 6 and you slow it down for the wedding and everything's back to normal, you know, it's a beautiful, lovely thing, and we're only going for heart and warmth there, and I think it works. You know, it gets you.
It's very real, actually, isn't it? All of it. I mean, we've all thrown the balls or wanted to. We've all had the Barneys. We've all made up. It's just everyone can, I reckon, really relate to the falling out.
And I was going to ask you about that, Camille. Do you think that the way that Gary, the two of you, as parents, treat Gary, and you're both quite, you know, you give him full on treatment in this series. Did you recognise that as well as being the
100%, because I think when he's doing well, you know, yeah, go on, my son, you know, that's my boy. And when he's not doing so well, it's like, oh, it's disappointing. It's difficult, isn't it? It's that love-hate thing. It's that which brings out that fantastic comedy for Gary when he's trying so hard to be a superstar, just to be. To make them happy.
Yeah. Mickey trips. Are they? Is that? Did you create that? Is that a thing?
That's Camille Kaduri. That was a Camille thing on.
Oh, amazing!
That was
on
my
series
mum
1.
thing.
Camille mentioned Mickey drips, and you know what? It's a weird thing, boy. That I mean, but me and Romesh, we gigged the other night, and I did it as a bit of stand up, just to sort of like play it into a bit of stand up. And you know that thing of like, as soon as you mention it in the room, every man of a certain age is looking at each other going, it is like because it is like, I wore a beige short out yesterday, and I genuinely felt like I was doing some extreme act of like, I'm out for 4 or 5 hours in a beige short. Like literally every toilet trip is a mission. Do you know what I mean? It's not just popping in, popping out. Do you know what I mean? So it was, when Camille first mentioned it, I think it was a rap party she mentioned it, right? We were joking, we'd had a few beers and she mentioned the rap party, and me and James was straight away like that. No matter what, I think that sort of like flew around most episodes until it was like, well, no, the best place for it is here, and it's one of my favourite scenes. The relationship with Gary and his mum, my favourite moment, I think, is just the Lottie Simon with the tattoo, but also the moment where he's at the beginning of episode 5 and Gary's stupidness of it, that moment where his mum's standing there with just hit the two of them. If he'd just gone, Mum, I really need your help here, I'm really up against it, like everything would have been okay.
No, it's awful to you, and I love you dearly, really.
What's so amazing about Camille is you forget that, because she's so warm and beautiful and gorgeous, and then you see her dip into Denise, and it's so brilliant to watch.
What do you want? What do you want? What are you after?
We've got one more clip to show, which is a great moment. This is called Voice Note, and this is from the wedding episode, set during the wedding, when Gary is losing it, basically. And let's have a look at this clip.
Our room is absolutely beautiful, honestly. Right on the lake, full mini bar. Me and Krabby are going to get absolutely filthy in there later. Stink the place out.
Don't need to know that.
It's going to be proper grubby.
Just switch off.
You seen your room yet?
Do I even have a room, Kay? That's the question. Do I have a room?
Yes, of course you've got a room. I've sent you a voice note.
Well, I'm a thing to the bank. I'm on hold to the bank right now.
Well, you should listen to it because it's a good one.
No, honestly, Kate, I've been on hold for ages. I do not want to lose my place in the queue. So just tell me the information.
Gary, just listen to the voice note.
Really? Honestly, God, get me straight.
All of the information is in the voice note.
You're here. Tell me the information.
I'm not saying it again.
Tell it to me.
I've said it once.
Tell me what it says. Just tell me what it says, Kate.
Oh, my God, are you actually crying?
No.
What is wrong with you, you absolute fanny?
I'm listening. I'll listen now.
Gal, our room is beautiful, mate. On the lake, full mini bar. Me and Krabby are going to get filthy
in there later.
It's gonna be filthy.
I've sorted your room and your mum and dad's, babe. Got your keys with me, so see you at the pool.
Wait for
Oh,
it.
also, we can do the wedding here at the hotel.
Oh, yes.
Too easy.
You can thank me later, babe.
Not thanking you at all. You could have told me all of that face to face.
God, why would I do that when I've already left it in a voice note, you absolute donut?
Let me be clear, right? I haven't trekked all the way to Ireland to get married in a chain hotel. I want a castle. I had a castle. I want turrets. I want decadence. If preferably, I would love a moat.
Oh, my God. Have you actually heard yourself, Gary?
I can hear myself, and I want you to hear this, but he can't. So I'm going to mouth it for you, just so you know how I feel right now. Don't look away. Please, Ted, look away. Pig, 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 pig.
So that features the great Lisa McGrillis, who we should mention, who is like another. I mean, we've talked about this ensemble, but she is so funny. And as she has to take over the wedding planning, it gets more and more extreme, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Lisa's just she is. I mean, she's when you talk about women that me and James have grown up with. There's a lot of Terrys, and then there's a few Ks that are just like the people you just love being around and love a few sort of like you love a drink with. They're just crazy, and I mean Lisa McGrillis is she's a joy. I think that the last thing we filmed in Newcastle is that scene between at the cliff top between Gary and Kay. And that was just it's great. Again, it's just James that you sort of go off and do your thing, and sort of the two of them, they're just these two. They're the biggest drama queens almost. But she's again, it's just like a joy to be with her and act with her. And she just really, she'll make you corpse. But I mean, she's someone you've got to rein in somewhat. She's got a hell of a sense of humour.
I bet. You keep it because things like the voice note, people leaving other people a voice note and telling them they've left a voice note is such a thing, which I totally recognise. It's hilarious. And also the WhatsApp groups, like the neighbour WhatsApp groups, which is
brilliant.
Those are such brilliant observations. Yeah. Do you kind of keep notes of things that you want, and the Mickey trips, of course? Do you keep mental notes of all these things you want to incorporate into the texture of the show? James?
Yeah, there's always a list of observation things that we want to work in somewhere, and sometimes they naturally fit in, and sometimes they're floating around, or they've been floating around for years, or they were floating around from the first season, and it's how you fit them in there, the Mickey Drips was a great thing. We talked for ages about that problem, and then when Camille gave it that lovely title, it sort of all fell into place really. And then putting it somewhere like the wedding, one of our rules is sort of petty problems blown up to be melodramas, which is a bit of a theme in Gary, and that being such a small thing that's blown up to be such a massive drama is sort of one of the things we try to do throughout really.
I just on that note with regards to the wedding, I do want to say like that in the wedding across those episodes, there was so much complicated stuff to shoot and really, really difficult things to put together. And I know we've talked a lot about the cast being excellent, but James, the energy and calmness and atmosphere he brings to a set, I genuinely haven't seen anything like it. And some of those things, we knew that those things must have been so stressful to put together and get everything covered and to get people performing to the level that they needed to. And when somebody at the top, like, and both Tom and James, obviously the creators of this show, Tom the star, James the director, when those people are stressed or highly strung or difficult, that obviously filters down and it affects the working environment. The energy that James brings to a set is so good. He didn't make it feel like there was anything complicated about what was going on at all.
No.
Even looking around, you knew that looked like an absolute nightmare. Do you know what I mean? And I think that really...
He never shouts,
No.
does he, or loses it ever, or tells you off, never.
No, it just contributes to a great atmosphere. And I also think it benefits the performances and the work you're doing benefits as a result of that, you know. So yeah, it was something I was really struck by, particularly during that part of it.
That's good to know. But also, you have to do a drunk acting as well, which is possibly an even bigger.
Very good.
Phenomenal drunk
Yeah,
acting.
I was saying that to bring it onto that. That was a real. Yeah, that's difficult, man. I didn't realise how difficult. You know, to sort of drunk acting is hard. I had no idea. So.
Did you have any Mickey drips though?
Oh, he's had Mickey drips loads.
Yeah. No, I actually celebrate it. It's like a big thing. I like it.
You lavishly reveal your.
Yeah. I show off about it. Something I like to brag about.
Totally. Rubbish is always in a pair of grey tracksuit bottoms, just bringing it on.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not rubbish. It's winter. Why are you wearing beige shorts? I just want to.
I don't even know if you made it clear what Mickey drips are. When people see it, they are pea stains, basically, just crystal clear to the viewers. But it's an absolute issue. Yeah. I wanted to ask that about specific thing as well, Tom. Is that you spend almost one entire episode topless.
Yeah.
And you know, again, if anyone listens to the podcast, they'll know. You know, we all men have body issues, but when you write the script, when you're writing that with James, you're like, right, I'm going to be topless in this entire episode. Don't you feel like you're kind of almost being masochistic to yourself?
Well, number one, the one thing James has found more hilarious than anything throughout our career, which has been nearly 50, and our friendship, is me with the top off or any clothes off. I think from Murder and Successful to Action Team to anything I've ever done with James, there'll always be a bit where I'll read through the script, like the stage directions, and go, well, Gary's naked. But the truth of the matter is, any of my body issues, Gary doesn't have. That's the sort of truth of like the things that I have hang-ups about, that me and Romesh and me and James and me and you were talking about, but as men, Gary doesn't have. What Leonie, who's the costume designer on this series, was the thing she loved is that Gary would wear tight clothes. I'd never wear a polo shirt that tight. I'd literally be like pulling it down, like, and so conscious of it. And Gary, that's how he rolls and how he dresses. I mean, the other thing I should say is, when we were going into number one, we were meant to film that series in the summer. Obviously, because of COVID, it gets pushed back. And then you're like, oh, actually, it won't be too bad because it'll be like April or whatever it was. And actually, when we started filming, the first bits you see, we filmed out a sequence. So you see me and Morgan in the front bit, and we've both got our tops off. And then this freak cold just came in for the rest of the shoot, right? So by the time it came to us filming the rest of that scene, it was freezing. And the last thing,
didn't you like pull one of your abs or something?
Yeah, my abs. Like, my six pack was in pieces. I
just kept going on about it. So
I think the doctor would have said you pulled your gut. But it was but it was honestly freeze. But yeah, it's one of the things of Gary. It's that thing of like, he's got complete confidence in his body, and I think that's probably as well that comes from Terry telling him he's beautiful, and he's buying him his clothes at one size too small.
Yeah. You also boldly have a scene where Simon Day has to go topless as well. If he was here, sadly he couldn't make it.
Wasn't it?
It was his idea.
Was it?
It was his idea, Boyd, and then he complained about it for about 3 weeks after. So much so that James just left the conversation. It was such a bad memory.
Furious.
He came in and said, I think he said it in rehearsals, didn't he? He said he wanted to have his top off, and Simon's
He said
great.
One of those moments.
He's
one of those.
Yeah. Again, always looking for the funny, and but Simon's genuinely, I think, in this series, it's a sort of air of you can see where Gary's sort of anxiety and his fears and the reason Gary is, and also what I think going back to Christopher, is that you can hopefully what we've tried to push in this is Gary's dad, in that he doesn't want to be the same person his father was, and he wants to try but he falls into that trap now and again with Teddy, and it's trying to sort of work that sort of relationship out between father and son.
I wanted to ask,
wasn't Teddy amazing? Riley?
He's incredible. Yeah, I mean, he's gonna. Yeah.
Oh.
He's an amazing lad and an incredible little actor.
He's very subtle, isn't he? I thought it was really interesting how and in the golf episode, when you're trying to turn him into a golf superstar, his acting is very subtle. I thought it was really brilliant.
Yeah, he's incredible, like amazing, but also quite frustrating as he'd be more of Laura's kid on the basis that he could turn his hand to anything. So I've had golf lessons for months. He turns up and he picks up a golf club and goes, "Oh, how hard can this be?" And then that shot you see him do, He did that for real.
Oh wow!
And he'd only
Right.
played golf that morning. Where
Right.
someone like me, I've been trying to hit a ball like that for like 9 months. And Laura has that ability to just turn up and just go, "Oh, what's this? A football? I'll do 250 kick-ups." And me and Romesh just standing there like that. Just trying to eat a sandwich without getting any ketchup down us.
Riley, he's what a talent that young boy is.
Yeah, he is incredible.
He's more professional than we are. He's
Yeah.
brilliant.
And the kid who plays your son, Romesh, is great as well. Yeah.
Oh, he's amazing. He's absolutely amazing. Yeah. So much so that I find him slightly intimidating to act on.
It was quite being in the woods with those kids was quite a experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't have to make that sound as sinister as you did then.
That was I want to ask about one line of Simon's line where he says in the Toby Carvery scene where he says these are Channel 5 people. Was that in the script or did he?
No, that's Simon Day. That's
Genius.
Simon Day's. That's his. Yeah.
That's genius.
That's his impression of anyone in a Toby Carvery. That's he throws those little bits in. That it's the best thing of, again, that's just the cast, and it's what James does so well. It's people will come in with a line and throw something in, and I don't think anyone ever feels intimidated to do that. I think from across the board, that is day players, people who Michelle, who plays the headmistress, and these people, they come in and straight away you want them to feel that we're not precious, we're not going to we want them to know that improvisation's encouraged and everyone being funny is encouraged, and I think that's the thing that hopefully sort of like rubs off. But yeah, Simon basically says will say to me and James, he'd go, why is Big Gary so horrible? He's so horrible in this fucking thing. And I'll turn around and say, he wasn't this horrible when we first wrote the part. My dad isn't as horrible as you are. It's become significantly more nasty since you, and don't get me wrong, the show's better for it.
Yeah.
But the buck stops with you there, my friend.
Yeah. It's true, but there are nasty moments, funnier nasty moments, because I think when Series 1 came out, I think a lot of people put it in brackets of other shows that were very known for being all the characters in them were warm and kind of quiet, gentle, funny. But this isn't like that, is it? This has much sharper edges, I think.
Yeah, but I think that's life. I think I look, case in point is all of our different, as we're a very working class cast, and we'll all take the mick out of each other, and that's what we do, and that's a sign of our love for each other. I think that's there. I think there's shows that I love, but if you go back to Fools and Horses, the needle's always there between Del and Rodney. It's really on the sort of and that works on so many different levels. I think if you go look at AbFab, the relationship between Jennifer Saunders and her daughter is just that, and then the mother is there's so many different levels to that. I think that this is probably hard. That for me, it's like, when you go shopping and you get two people who are having an argument and they want the whole shop to know they're having an argument and what it's about. That's it happens every time I go to Sainsbury's. I'll see that sort of vibe, and that's the people that I've constantly grown up around and I know, and it doesn't mean they love each other any less. I think Denise, if anything happens to Terry, would be there straight away, and I think likewise with Terry to Denise. But there's one woman came up to us on set and was like, I'd never talk to my boy the way she talks to you about Camille. And I was like, well, yeah.
Who was she?
I think a lot of it is passion, you talk about the arguments that Gary and Terry had, but what a couple they are. Do you know what I mean? They're so ferociously in love with each other. They have got a relationship that many people you sort of think would die to be as close as they are to each other. And so when you are as passionate as that, when you do fall out, things are more explosive as a result, and I think that, I was about to give my parents as an example, but they went through a really rocky time and split up for a while. But the point I sort of grew up around them, sort of when they argued, it was loud. Do you know what I mean? It's like, family arguments were loud, but
Italian.
It's
Italian, isn't it?
But exactly. But like Tom said, it's like that. It's not nobody loves each other any less. It's just that when you're expressing how annoyed you are, you really go for it. And so I think it
means you care, and I've got my parents are quite tough love. I find that a lot very prevalent in sort of working class families where your parents are sort of tough love, but they drop anything to help you. but they're a bit tough on you, and I think that is just how you've grown up, and to toughen you up for the world,
Yeah, I think it's also funnier as far the further you take it, the more harsh that your parents are to you, the funnier it is in the show.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, I think that one of the first inclinations of us, the first times we were doing it. So when I used to do a lot of stand up about my relationship with my dad, and like my dad would constantly sort of walk, even when I had success in this industry, would still talk around and go, people would say, oh yeah, your boy's doing all right, and he'd go, yeah, he's doing all right at that. I tell you what, he was great at is washing cars. He used to come down when he was about 14, 15, wash cars. If you want to see what he's really, that's what his talent was. And even after we won, me and James won the BAFTA, he'd still have that vibe of like, no, or he'd go, he's useless at everything else. And he didn't mean that he doesn't, he turns around numerous times and said how proud he is. And I think that's also and it's the side of Simon that is beautiful. Simon is one of the most caring, loving people on set. He's got such a big heart, but sometimes. And men of that generation, the truth of men of working class men, all men of that generation, is they sometimes find it hard to actually say, I love you, or I'm proud of you, and like show that. So sometimes that's just done in a moment. And I think it's like when Gary's doing the meeting with the Crescent Warden thing, there's a part of that you can look at it and go, Simon's just being horrible. But there's also a part of him going, look, liven up. I'm trying to give you the way of sorting this out. And I think they're the things that, and that is, I grew up working with men. Again, we've talked about this. And I grew up around men of, solely working with men of that generation who were who could never say anything nice about you. But so you'd know if they would like you, but no one would ever turn around and go, actually, I think you're all right. They go, oh, shut up, you prick, and whatever. And you just go, oh, maybe he likes me, maybe he doesn't. It's a guessing game. And I'm constantly doing this. You know what I mean? But that's why I have so many mental instabilities now, more at that point.
I feel it. It's very real. It works very well. Finally, we're running out of time. I could talk about this all night. And also, James, by the way, Defond has dropped out for technical reasons.
Yeah, I think we've been writing today, and he's had his power keeps going out in his street. He's had this problem all day.
Right. But finally, I wanted to ask you all really. I feel there are so many moments like where you're either improvising something or just saying something ridiculous or whatever, where you must be cracking up on set. What were the moments that were the hardest to recover from and to not crack up?
I would say, well, I think there's loads of them, but there's one in particular that really springs to mind, is where Gary, I'm in a lift,
yes,
and the doors open, and Gary's fuming, and as every single time the doors open and I saw Tom's face, I found it so difficult to not completely start cracking up. And it was every time, every single take, I am on the edge of ruining the take by laughing. It was just...
That had to be done in one shot, the way that James had shot that. There was a camera in the lift and there was a camera. So there's a camera of me and camera over my shoulder. And because we only had about 15 minutes to shoot this scene, we had to shoot it as one. So it was and there's no cuts in it once you're in the lift. So I think I have a weird thing with Romesh where you're like that camping scene, the clip you've shown, and it's very intense between me and Aaron Morgan. And then I'd look around and Romesh is so in it, and his face is just always. Romesh will make me laugh more than anything else when he looks at me without a disgust, which is 90% of our relationship is based on Romesh looking at me going, "What the fuck are you going on about?" That was always funny. I think as well that moment in that same with Laura where we're just like Gary and Terry are having the discussion about the cleaner, and it was sort of the scripted piece was sort of here, and we were like, and then from there we just started messing around with it, and that was a lot of fun, and it was just I think
it's painful. It's actually really painful filming on a daily basis because your whole sort of raison d'etre is to try and not laugh, and that's so difficult when Laura's on one and she's on one, and I can't even begin. I think I can't look at you.
I know
Tommy's on one. Oh no!
No,
and
actually,
he's on a riff and he's doing stretching out these pieces about cats with stuff with sardines and full of secrets and so I mean, I've just had to, covered in bruises where I'm pinching myself to stop myself laughing. I mean,
Funeral speech was my favourite.
Oh.
Yeah, that was impossible actually. Your speech at Mrs. Watson's funeral was impossible. And also, if I'm on set with Camille and we have no lines and Tom's being funny, we just lose it. I think James might have to have cut us out of most of those shots because we just couldn't stop laughing, could we?
Lots of shoulders.
Yeah.
And Boyd.
and heads turning away like.
And so this was Signal, Simon Day, and the relationship between Big Gary and Gary. These two are laughing, and there's a buzz. James is laughing behind the monitor. Rich, the producer's laughing. Simon Day's going, fuck. Eating a Scotch egg from the set.
Also, just talking about people making laugh, I found it was so great to have the girls, Lisa McGrillis and Lily Brazier, who's a new character in it, Alison. The three of us together, I found it those days really funny. The three of us just get on so well, and they're naughty as well. And the improv that happens with the three of us and the different dynamic, it's so wonderful because each character brings a different dynamic to, you know, I love that I got to do a scene with Romesh this time. And you're right, Tom, you're with all these big characters, you turn around and just see Rom's face.
I know, it's the thing of, actually, you should shout out Lily Brazier because that she is an incredible, like that part again, that was, she wrote on this series with me and James, so she did quite a lot of days on Zoom with us, and we just loved how she got the world. She's from this world. She knew it like intrinsically. She just and loved that she got the show, and then so when we were writing Alison, James was like, it has to be Lily. We had to, and never has anyone come on this set, and talk about. All of us improvise and have a laugh, and we play around with, Lily. James was incredible because James was to Lily like that. You kind of just do what you want. The lines are here, but you do. But there's a thing as well where you watch Lily, and I'm a massive People Just Nothing fan, and we're working with the guys at the moment. Love the guys. There's a part of me that the thing that breaks my heart is she's incredible. And she's in a BAFTA winning show, and she's in 4 series of a BAFTA winning show, and she's been in literally nothing else. And that's because she's not in a clique, she's not in this, she's not in that, she's not a member of this thing, and not, and that shows almost a snobbery in our industry. And for me and James as creators of this show, and to go, this not number one, she's an exceptional writing talent, like exceptional. But as an actress, you're like, she should be in so much more. But why isn't she? And that whether that is a class thing, maybe whatever that is, but. And that's we're lucky to have her in this. But she, it's full of funny people. But she came in with a confidence and to everything she did. She felt like where Laura this season's taken this thing and gone, right, I'm going to up the drama, or I'm going to up the emotion. Lily sort of came in and was like, and her stuff with Romesh and Stuart is just incredible. And I'd be amiss not to say. I think she blew me away, and every day she was on set.
Right, James. Thanks for coming back. We have to end it now, but finally, what was the hardest scene for you to keep them all corralled and keep going without them all laughing and cracking up?
Well, it's as the guys have said, we always try and we're making comedy, so you got to be having fun on set. If we're not laughing on set, then we got a problem, and it's creating that atmosphere. For me, rule number 1 is let funny people be funny, and they don't get much funnier than this lot. So you'd be mad not to let them go off and muck about. It's just a balance of when you get them back on the lines and when you don't really. But overall, we just have a lot of fun, and hopefully that comes across.
Oh, that's a lovely way to end it. Thank you. Thank you, James and Romesh and Laura and Camille and Tom. Congratulations on a brilliant second series, which will be on BBC soon. That will be all available on iPlayer as a box set, and people will definitely want to watch it all in one go because it's so addictive. Well, congratulations, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Boyd. Thank you.